guys, so this video is all about how to get this perfect winged eyeliner. What products I use, what brushes I use, the technique that I use to accomplish this, and it's how to get that very perfect line with a winged sort of cat eye effect. I do use a gel eyeliner for this method. So the one that I use is by MAC, and it's the MAC Blacktrack Fluidline, just a really nice, very, very dark black. However, you can find, budget alternatives especially if you're getting started, you might not want to splurge so much money on a gel liner to begin with. I know that L'Oreal makes them now, the L'Oreal Hip line. You can try, I think Maybelline has them, Wet n Wild. In European area, I only know of Catrice. I don't know if there's other brands that make them now. This is the Catrice one. So these are kind of more the budget varieties. So if you're a beginner, I would actually recommend that you try it with a cheaper one first, because you might end up wasting a lot of product just doing practice runs, and then it's kind of not very cost effective to use like a really expensive one if you're not very good at it yet. If you do decide to go the gel eyeliner route, you will need a couple of brushes, because these don't come with an applicator. You will have to buy a brush with it. The one that I personally love is this one. I got this at an art supply store, and it's just an artist brush. The brand is Galleria. So, I mean, you don't have to get this specific brand, just go to an art supply store. If you do want to get this exact brand, I bought this in Vancouver at Opus down on Granville Island. You want to get one that just has synthetic fibers. You definitely want synthetic fibers for this, and you want one that has like a little bit of resistance. Like, you don't want one that just kind of flops around. You can also use on an angled liner, for example, something like this. This is one by Sigma. This is the E65. So this might be easier, I think, for beginners to get started, just because there is more like the width of the brush is wider, so this will probably give you a little bit more stability. So when I started learning it, I used an angled brush like this, but then when I moved on, I used an artist brush, just because I find that the artist brushes, like the really thin ones, they are more precise, especially if you want to make that extreme kind of point at the end, that kind of typical cat wing, like really perfect look. I find it's easier to do that with these ones. You don't have to get name brand brushes for these, but what you'll find is that these brushes you have to replace after a while, because they'll start fraying. But this is like an older one that I bought, and there's some hairs that aren't sticking up perfectly anymore. So at that point, you want to go ahead and replace the brush, just because those little hairs that stick out, they can smear and it'll make a mess and stuff. So that's why I personally don't really buy a lot of the higher end, like department store brand brushes, because they do fray after a while, and there's just really no way to repair them other than like cutting away the hair and stuff like that. So definitely head to an art supply store to get your brush. Angle brushes like this, you'll probably will have to buy, from a makeup brand, but you can buy these in the drugstore as well. So if you're not comfortable with using gel liners, you can also do the exact same technique that I'm going to show you using liquid eyeliners. So you can purchase those at most drugstores. The one that I really like from the budget variety is the Revlon Colorstay. That one is like very, very dark, and it lasts a long time. If you're wanting something a bit more higher end, the one that I love is the one by Illamasqua, and this is the Precision Ink in Abyss. And the advantages of using these ones is that they already come with an applicator, so you won't have to buy a brush or anything. The drawback is that usually with these kinds of products, like the liquid liners, especially in the less expensive range, like the drugstore ones, sometimes the applicators are not so good. Sometimes they're felt tip and they're just very thick, or sometimes, they do have ones with the brush ends, but the brush is like very floppy and stuff. So that's personally why I do prefer using a gel liner, because I can buy my own brush with it. But if you want to try the same method with a liquid liner, go ahead, you can do it as well. I'll go ahead with a tutorial and show you step by step on how to get this beautiful cat wing shape. You want to get a good amount of product on there, but you don't want it to be like chunky on the end. So I just kind of like to roll it, in the product. What I like to do is I kind of start here in the middle of the top lid. And you want to start applying this very, very close to the lash line. I already have mascara on, because I've been wearing this makeup all day, but usually I would put on the mascara after. So then I like to just draw that line, and as you get inward, there's going to be less product on the brush, and that's good because you want it to get thinner. Okay, as you get inward, you want it to sort of taper in. So there's kind of the first line. Now it's not totally perfect yet, don't worry. But what you want to start doing now is you want to do this wing, which is the whole point of this tutorial. So what you do is, I like to get, at this point, I like to get a little bit more product on the brush. I start at the very outer corner of my eye here, okay? So I place the brush and then I pull out a wing. And this is all about the angle you want to go for. You know, if you want it to be like super dramatic, you can do a sort of a more defined angle, but I'm just going to draw out an angle like that. And it can kind of, what you can do is you can kind of imagine like a line like this from your nose to your eyebrow, like the end of the eyebrow, and that's kind of the angle that looks usually the most flattering. So it looks like that at this point. And what you want to do now is you want to connect this point up here to the bottom. So you're kind of making a little triangle. And this part is kind of the hardest just because your eye is not flat. Like your eye is a three-dimensional shape, obviously. So it's kind of hard sometimes to get this perfect. Alright. And just kind of, you know, anywhere there's little bumps, you want to even that out. Okay, so that's pretty good. Now, depending on the angle, sometimes it doesn't look quite even, but it actually is. Like I said, your eye is a three-dimensional shape, so you know, you have to kind of just go with the shape of your eye. Now, if you want to make this more dramatic, you can, you know, increase this shape. You could either pull it out a bit more and, you know, make this a bit thicker. And if you do thicken it, you'll have to balance it out with the other areas. Alright, so I've just made that line a lot more dramatic just by thickening it up. And if you do decide to go thicker with the line, you will have to pull out this line a little bit to compensate for it. Okay, so that's what it looks like. As you can see, it kind of looks like a perfect triangle there. I'm just going to go ahead and do it on the other eye, and then I'll show you the finished look. Alright, so there you can see the finished look with the winged eyeliner on both sides. Now, I think I did get it pretty even this time. I mean, the first time you do it, you will kind of suck at it. Like, I was completely crap at it the first time I did it. I could hardly do a straight line. It is a lot of practice, so just keep going at it. And one thing I also wanted to mention is it's easiest if you do it, like if you're looking into a mirror. For example, I have a mirror right here, and if you can balance your elbow, I don't know if you can, well, you can't see this, but I'm balancing my elbow on a table, so that already steadies your hand. And the other thing I do is when I'm working, I use one finger here to balance against my face. So that gives me a lot of control in the brush, so I'm not like, because if I was doing like this, my hand would probably be shaking a lot more. Now, the last thing I did want to mention is once you're finished with the look and you know you want to clean your brush, the best way to clean these kind of brushes once you've used gel liner with them is to use the same like the same product that you use to remove the makeup. So I like to use an oil-based makeup remover. I just use like a one from the drugstore actually, and just get a little bit of a cotton pad, put some of that remover on there, and just swirl the brush in it, because that's going to remove all the particles, all the product from the brush, because just using like shampoo and and water and just washing it is not really going to remove gel liner from most brushes. So yeah, that's it for the tutorial. It definitely is a lot of practice. It will, you know, be a lot harder in the beginning, but just keep going at it. The more you do it, the better your skill is going to be, and in no time you will be an expert at applying gel liner. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you very soon. Bye bye.